What's going on, guys? Another beer review. Today we're doing something that's available everywhere. That's right, Miller High Life. Some people enjoy these videos, not everyone, of course, but the people who do enjoy them, I got quite a few messages saying that you know, it's really cool to see these different beers and these exotic, you know, stuff out there. But I'm Joe Schmo and I can't get a hold of that stuff. It's unavailable where I live. So can you review some of the cheap stuff out there? Some of the just average beer. And yes, sure, absolutely. In fact, it's the cheapest beer. So that's where I'm going to be starting off here, is with Miller High Life. Miller High Life by me in northeastern Pennsylvania. You get a 30-pack of cans for $25. Now, I've had Miller High Life before. Apparently, the MGD, the draft, Miller Draft, is supposedly better. Where I live, it's an extra $5 for a 30-pack. I have not yet tried that. I will try it in the future. But anyway, this is what we have. Miller High Life. I think 4.6% ABV. And this is considered an American lager. So that's pretty much it. You can see the can here. Obviously, it comes in bottles too. Bottles will be more expensive. I'm working with a tiny mug today. Why? Because I saw it in the cabinet and I grabbed it. That's why. No other reason. So, let's get some of this poured out, and then give it a smell. I'm going to treat these cheap beers with, you know, the same I would anything else, really. Just because it's cheap, I'm going to do the exact same process of smelling it and really tasting it. You know, in all honesty, I've had probably a dozen or more different cheap beers. They all taste very similar. They all have the same thing going for them. They're better when they're cold. The colder they are, the better they taste. These beers are definitely a refreshing drink for some. It's not a lot of people drink this to really taste it. Now, that being said, there's people who drink beer every single day, and they have their favorites, of course. You know, if you walk into any liquor store or anywhere that sells liquor, you know, in bulk, you'll see people come in and they don't even look at different beer. You know, when I go to a beer store, or, you know, any kind of outlet that sells beer, I'm in there for 20 minutes, half an hour looking around at things. People come in, they find what they drink, they grab a case of it, they're out. No one, it's kind of like cigarettes. I think a lot of people, once they find their brand, they don't test or try other things anymore. But anyway, I'm all about trying new things and new experiences. And these cheap beers, they've been extremely similar to each other, but Miller High Life to me has been a little bit, just a touch better than some of the other ones out there. But anyway, we get a look at it, and it's just a very pale yellow. Looks like a Pilsner. Not much head on it at all. As far as the smell, it's got such a generic, light, just beer smell. But more specifically, it smells like grains, I guess. Maybe like the slightest touch of corn. But just a little bit of barley in there. You don't really smell hops or anything like that. So anyway, right to the taste. Mostly grain. Just, I mean, it's a generic beer taste. Now with this one and a lot of the cheaper ones, there's a little bit of a metallic flavor. All right, now this is something when I was younger I never picked that up. You know, that metallic flavor on just most beer, you know, beer from large manufacturers like Anheuser-Busch and Coors and Miller and stuff like that. But after trying so many other beers that are chock full of flavor, and I go back to something like this, I pick it up more. It's just a little bit of a metallic-y taste, and I don't know what it is. It's always when it first enters your mouth. The second you swallow, you know, the aftertaste, the finish of the beer, it disappears completely. It doesn't linger around, but it's definitely there. And these are all watery. All the cheap beers are watery beers. They're extremely mass-produced. They always have a very light mouthfeel. And this one's no different. You know, the flavor's it's not terrible. And like I said, for the cheaper beers, I do prefer this one as well as a couple other ones that you'll see in the future. But I'll take this over any Coors. I'll take it over, you know, Natty Ice. I'll take it over Bud, any kind of variant on Budweiser. You know, my dad's a hardcore Bud, well, he was a hardcore Bud drinker. He drank Bud for 25, 30 years. No, more, about 35 years. And just this year, I had him switch over to Yingling, Black and Tan. One time, I went with him to the store to pick up some beer when I was visiting him, and he grabbed his Bud, and I'm like, look, why don't you try something different? And I grabbed it off the shelf. I'm like, Yingling, Black and Tan. It's got flavor, all right? It's a little bit of the lager you're used to, but it's got, you know, just a little bit of flavor in there mixed in. And he poured it, and the first thing he did was to open a can when he got home. He's like, all right, fine, I'll try it. Open a can, he's like, oh, it's a dark beer. I hate dark beer. Took a sip, never looked back. Hasn't bought a single can of Bud since. He's a Black and Tan guy now, and cheers for that. But anyway, back to this. It's nothing special. It's just kind of plain. I'll say it is refreshing. And I think most of the American lagers, they're popular beers because they're not heavy beers. Because they're watered down, excuse me, to a beer connoisseur, that's a big negative thing. You know, oh, this beer sucks, it's watered down. It's always, you know, a negative connotation behind that statement. But for someone who drinks beer daily or visits a bar, you know, more than once or twice a week, they may not be looking for that super heavy-duty, intense, complex beer flavor. They want something that tastes like beer and something that's extremely cold and refreshing, and these beers usually fit that bill. And like I said, I definitely like some more than others. But for less than $1 a can, I definitely consider that cheap. At this point, I've had, you know, most of the draft stuff I get, and I try new things every time. I try not to get the same thing. It's all about the experience and trying new things. There's certainly ones I like, and occasionally I'll revisit those ones, but I mean, you know, a 6-pack of bottles on a lot of stuff is anywhere from like $10.99 to $20. You know, that's expensive. It's way too expensive compared to stuff like this. But anyway, just, I mean, it's really light, just a straightforward, generic beer flavor. Like I said, mostly grain, maybe a little bit of barley, very low on the hops. Just maybe, you know, just like I said, this very slightest hint of a cornmeal flavor, and that's really just on the finish. The other thing too with these beers is that the flavor, they dissipate very fast. All right, when you're drinking some of the heavier, the porters and some of the stouts and, you know, the imperial stouts, all these just huge big beers, they linger. Your palate, I mean, your mouth and throat is coated with this flavor, and it lasts from sip to sip. You take a sip, you can wait a couple minutes, you still taste that. This, the second it goes down the gullet, you know, count to 5, it's gone, like you never had it. I mean, you might burp it up later, that same flavor, or a worse version of that flavor, but the flavor dissipates. It's a clean, dry finish, and it's a fast finish. It does not linger. Okay, again, that's because of just a lot of water content. It is a watered down beer. But for that reason, that's why a lot of people find it refreshing. A really cold, as far as the cheap beers go, if they're ice cold, most of them taste pretty similar, like I said. But once they start warming up with room temperature, that's where some of the finer details come out that you don't want to come out. You know, take it or leave it. But honestly, I think if you're really on a budget and you're looking to try, you know, a better cheap beer, Miller High Life is good. I picked this over, like I said, there's probably a dozen different cheap beers that aren't as good as this. So if you got to go cheap, Miller High Life is definitely worth trying. It's not that bad for a cheap beer. Like I said, in the future I'm going to try the draft, Miller Draft, and see what I think, if it's worth the extra couple bucks. But that's it for now. So stay tuned. I have a bunch of other cheap beers that I want to try for you guys. I got Pabst Blue Ribbon. That's old school, baby. And Maybe I'll eventually try Natty Ice, Keystone, stuff like that. Ironically, I think Keystone is made by Coors in Colorado. The Keystone, I mean, Pennsylvania is the Keystone state, and it's a beer sold in Pennsylvania, but it's not made in Pennsylvania. So that's kind of stupid, but I'll save that little tidbit for that review. What else do I have? I have some Old Milwaukee. We'll try some of that, and who knows what else I can pick up. The good thing about reviewing cheap beer, you guessed it, it's cheap to buy. It's not some rare, expensive, you know, crazy beer that no one's going to be able to try. Excuse me. Oh, I can say that the carbonation on most cheap beer is very high. It's a lot of carbonation, a lot of water, not a whole lot of flavor, but like I said, it is very refreshing, and it pairs very nicely with pretty much any kind of greasy food. If you're eating pizza or burger or wings or something, a really cold Miller High Life is you know, not a bad option to wash that junk food down. Anyway, that's it for this review. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you enjoy your weekend responsibly and safely. And I'll see you soon with a new beer review. Take care.